Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea, and in this video I'm going to be attempting a 24-hour reading challenge. So I plan to read 24 hours straight. I am excited and nervous. I've never done anything quite like this before, so we're just gonna see what happens. I have a little bit of a strategy that I'm going to try to stick to. My plan is to get up first thing in the morning as early as I can. I'm not a morning person, but I just want to start as early as I can. And just so you know, I'm not going to be doing 24 hours like straight. It's just been years since I've even stayed up that long, let alone have used my mind for that long of a time all at once. So I'm going to do 12 hours and 12 hours. And so this challenge is going to be a 2-day event for me. But anyway, you don't care about that. My plan is to get up as early as I can. I'll be relying heavily on caffeine, but also hopefully I'm going to go through some of my picks for what I want to read this weekend, and hopefully that'll also help me. It'll also help me out because these are a lot of books that I really want to read. So the first book I want to get through is The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. And this I just got on my Libby app through the library, so I'm really excited to read it. This seems like a really sweet, fun romance. I'm really trying to pick books that will be fun and entertaining, and I'll probably be going back and forth between a couple different books during this challenge. But I'm hoping to at least read like 3 or 4 books, at least, I would assume. So hopefully I'll do at least one audiobook. The one I'm thinking I'm going to do is Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett Sinclair. I've read from that author before. And this just sounds like a fun, spicy fairy tale fantasy story. It's only 6 hours long. I think it's technically a novella. So I think this one will be a good one to kind of like go back and forth from physically reading. And then I've got a couple things on my March TBR that I really want to get to as well. And then this is where I have to make some decisions because I do have quite a bit on my physical TBR for this month too. So I think for this challenge, I want to try to read Butcher and Blackbird, which is a darker romantic comedy about 2 serial killers that fall in love. And then I also want to read the first Daisy Hates book, which is part of the Magnolia Parks series. So I'm hoping to, at least read like 3 or 4 books. So I'll check in with you guys tomorrow once I get a little into The Neighbor Favor, and we'll go from there. Okay, hello again. I feel like I'm at a pretty good spot to do a little check-in. I am on page 120, so I'm only about 30% in, and I'm liking it a lot so far. We've gotten some pretty good setup of both of the main love interests. We have Lily, who is a Shire girl. She lives in New York City. She's working in the publishing industry, but it's not quite the job that she wants, and she kind of hates her job. I really like her a lot already. She's very relatable. The beginning when she's almost about to pass out on the subway because it's hot is so me. I'm that person that has to carry water with them everywhere because they've fainted in public before. But anyway, she starts talking via email to this writer of this fantasy novel that she absolutely loves. And they end up kind of hitting it off. And then we get Nick, we get him. He is kind of in a weird place where he doesn't want to be the author of this fantasy book anymore. He has like a pen name, so she doesn't realize who it is. And he's working for a traveling company or for like a traveling magazine and writing for them. And I'm not sure if it's just because the book didn't do well or what. He's just kind of not interested in being that author anymore. So we have this back and forth that kind of went on forever. I'm not always thrilled when there's like texting and emails and books, but I get why we're doing it for this book, obviously, because we got a lot of information on both the characters throughout this back and forth. So then they were going to do some sort of like video chat so they could actually meet in person. And that's where Nick got some cold feet. He feels like he's been lying to her about who he is. He doesn't really see himself as this successful author like she sees him. And she takes this kind of as he's been lying about who he was, like he's not even the author of the book, if that makes sense. So anyway, he ends up basically ghosting her at this point. And then months go by At this point, she just made a bet with her two sisters are very like successful women, and they want her to have more success in her career, and they constantly are setting her up on dates with guys that just really have nothing in common with her, and she doesn't love going on these dates. She talked about this a little bit with Nick, and they got pretty like deep into some stuff when they were talking. And it was really cute. So I'm liking the setup so far. She made this deal with her sisters. One of them's about to get married, and they wanted to get her a date, which seems they're a little involved in her life, so they feel like they need to set her up. And she just says that she can find her own guy, and that if she can't, then she will happily go on dates with whoever they set her up with in the future. So she now has to find a date, and she really is attracted to this newer guy. She lives with one of her sisters, and they're in an apartment building, and there's a newer guy that's only lived there a few months that she's attracted to. So she strikes up a conversation with him one day. I think she's trying to see if he will go on this date to the wedding with her. But little does she know that it's actually the author that she was talking to. Neither of them knew it, but Nick, slowly starting where I just left off, he kind of just realized who this girl is because her name is Lily, and because she has a lot of, and he's kind of like, oh, have I met you before? There's some things that just sound really familiar about you. And then the cat, Tom Cat, is her cat, and he just puts it all together, and then he like leaves. So that's where I've just left off. So I don't know if she's gonna then try to talk to him, and I guess he's gonna help her find a date for this wedding. But it's going well so far. Gonna drink some more coffee, take a little break, and then get further into this book. Okay, hi again. I wanted to do another quick check-in before I finish the book. I've been reading it really quickly, and it's been really good. It's very sweet. I like how it's progressing. I've got a little over 100 pages left, but we've been following around our main characters. He now realizes who she is, that she's the Lily he was talking to over email last year, and now he feels bad because he's essentially lying to her, and she has no idea, but he thinks it's better to not tell her. He is starting to write his new book, so I'm not sure what's going to be happening there. He seems a little like in writer's block and not sure how to start the second book in these fantasy novels that he's writing. I like books about the publishing industry too. I just think it's fun to see kind of the behind the scenes of it. He and her are getting closer. They've actually kissed a couple times, which is kind of funny. So they obviously have like a big physical attraction. We got to meet more of her family. He spent a night like at a party with her sisters and her family, and that went really well. There's kind of like another guy in the picture now, which is making him a little jealous. And her work life, I don't think I talked about this yet, but she works in the publishing industry, but she doesn't like her job. She wants to be more in children's publishing, and she hates her boss. Her boss is kind of a nightmare. So she actually met someone via Nick who works in children's publishing, and so she's got an interview with this person now, so things are kind of looking up for her in her career. But I just wanted to do a quick check-in because I have a feeling I'm gonna just finish this book very soon, and then I'll have one book done for this vlog. I'm very excited, and I'll check back in a little bit when I finish that, and I'll move on to my next book. Okay, I finished my first book in this 24-hour reading vlog, yay. It's just under 5 hours, so I've been doing pretty good, feeling all right. Might need to go outside and take a little walk and drink some more coffee soon. And then I started my next book, but let me talk about the rest of The Neighbor Favor. I loved The Neighbor Favor. I think I'm gonna end up giving it 4 stars. It was sweet and cute. I think I said earlier, I just really like this setup and this premise. I thought both of our characters were great. They had kind of their own thing going on, and we slowly just saw their attraction building, and they just made each other better. And I don't know, it's just very sweet. I really wanted a cute romance, and I was like giggling at some parts. It was just such a sweet, fun, easy read. I'm glad that that was the first one for this vlog, because it really made me want to continue to read a bunch today. So I loved it. I think, yeah, 4 stars for sure. Just a nice, fun, funny romance. The next one is also going to be a funny romance. I just started Butcher and Blackbird. And so far, so this is the one where it's 2 serial killers who kill other serial killers. And it's funny. It starts, there's like a million trigger warnings for this, but then it's basically like, for those of you who read the trigger warnings and said accidental cannibalism, count me in. This one's for you. So it sounds like this is gonna get dark, but in like a fun, funny way. And I've only read like 2 chapters, so they've just met up. So our girl in this, Sloane, she is in a cage in the beginning of this because she's going after a serial killer, and he's already dead, but she's kind of stuck, and she kills other serial killers. And then Rowan finds her and kind of like helps her out, and then they strike up this friendship. And I'm excited to see where this goes. Hopefully it'll be good and will keep up my momentum. But let me get a little further into this one, and then I will check in again. Okay, I am back. After I took a little break from reading, I got deeper into Butcher and Blackbird, and I actually ended up just getting immersed into it, and I just finished it. Sorry I didn't do another check-in. I should have, but I was so into this book. I had no idea that I needed this. I didn't know that I needed a horror romance with comedy and dark elements. This was so good. What a breath of fresh air. I liked how funny it was. I liked how gross it was at times. I liked our characters. They're serial killers, but like Dexter type serial killers. They're only killing bad guys. And I like how they became, first they were rivals and then friends, and then became lovers. And there was a lot of like unexpected spice in this book, which was exciting and unexpected. I was like, oh, we're doing this. So this was great. Like I said, a breath of fresh air. I'm debating giving it 5 stars, quite honestly. It was really good. Very easy to read. I loved it. But on to the next book. Yeah, 2 books so far on my first day of this reading challenge, and both have been really great. So I'm excited. Hopefully we'll keep it going. I'm gonna start, I think, an audiobook just to give my eyes a bit of a break. I have a couple hours left today, so hopefully I can get that started and listen to more tomorrow. Okay, so hey, welcome back. Another check-in, new day, more books to talk about, lots to catch up on. I did start listening to the Mountains Made of Glass audiobook, and I only got about an hour and a half into it last night. So this morning when I got up, I jumped right back in and just kind of plowed through it this morning. And the only reason I didn't do a check-in for that book was one is a short book. It was only about 6 hours long. I think it's technically a novella. And I liked it a lot, but for what it is, it just was sort of a fun, kind of spicy time, fantasy romance, not too heavy on the plot or anything, just kind of a fun time to read. I think I'm just going to be giving it 3 stars. Not that I didn't like it, it was just kind of a fun little read. It was about our main character in the beginning of the book. She kind of is forced into a situation where she has to kill a toad. And then it turns out this toad was actually like an elf fae prince. And she wakes up and like 5 of his brothers are there to punish her. And I think this is one of those books where it's going to be a larger series, so all of the brothers are going to have kind of their own book type of thing. But anyway, in this one, they sent her, the punishment is to go live with their other brother. So there's 7 brothers. She killed one of them. 5 of them show up in her home. And then she is forced to go to the one that's called the Beast, and he's like the Prince of Thorns. It's basically a Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling where she doesn't really want to be there, but she's sort of being held captive. And there was parts of it that was really cute. And he kind of strikes, so the prince kind of strikes up an agreement with her because of course he's also cursed. So he has to try to break that curse with something he has to try to break that curse. So he makes a bargain with her that if she can guess his name within 7 days, he'll just let her go free. So yeah, it was just fun, like little spicy read. And then I actually started another book. I kind of ended up picking one that I wasn't even planning on reading, but I was debating reading a few others. I just think they might be a little too long for right now. I'm not totally sure if I'm gonna do 1 more or 2 more books, but I've been eyeing this book for a little while now, so I just figured why not read it now while I'm in the mood to read it. And that's Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I'm hoping I can get through this and then maybe read one other book. I haven't decided yet. I've really just started. I'm literally on page 27. So I've got a little bit to go. I think there's like 300 some odd pages in this book. Yeah, like 3. I just don't want to look to see what happens. So this is another book. I wonder if it's just because I was reading The Neighbor Favor and I kind of liked the publishing industry side of that. This is obviously not like a romance. This is just more of a general fiction story. But so far in the book, we have 2 writers. The main girl that we're following is really jealous of her friend who she's just doing better in the publishing industry. Her books are selling and she's, making like overseas deals and doing really well and has like a social media following and just kind of all these things. And it, like the beginning is just sort of a laundry list of her jealousy with her friend who she went to school with, and they actually do seem kind of like they are good friends, and her friend is just kind of like trying to help her out because she isn't doing that well. Her book kind of didn't go anywhere. The publishing agent doesn't really care about it anymore. She's no longer going on tour for this book, and her friend's just trying to like make her feel better. So I will check in again with you guys once I am a little deeper into this. And I even switched up my caffeine, so hopefully I will be reading this really quick. Sometimes I feel like I read a little slower when I read physical copies of things. But I will check in when I am a little further in. I've gotten a little further into this book. I don't even think I said in the beginning what the book is really about. It's going well so far, meaning it's kind of a train wreck and like something awful is about to happen at any moment. But basically, I talked about how she was jealous of her friend, but she actually witnesses her friend's death, and she doesn't really do much to help her. She just kind of like freaks out about it. And she says it's her friend, but then later on at the funeral, she's kind of like, well, we weren't even that close. She's actually even asked to speak at her friend's funeral by their family, and she's raving about her. So she finds like the manuscript that her friend has been working on. And now that she's dead, at first she kind of like rationalizes it a little bit to be her friend, because now of course this book is going to do amazing and everyone's really super interested in it. And now she's just like trying to keep this secret that this isn't actually her work at all, and like the lies are going to start catching up with her. It's kind of interesting too, just to see kind of like the bad side of publishing in this as well, just kind of the back and forth, and things that they want to change. And I don't think I even said that this, so the girl who died, she actually is an Asian author, and that's what this story is about. She did all this like back work, she did all this research, and it's from her viewpoint. And so now a lot of the changes they want to make is because now this girl who stole the story is a white author, and a lot of what she's saying and the viewpoint doesn't really make sense. And she's just kind of treating this like it's her own work now, and she's upset that they want to change things. And she really cares about more. She's starting to care more about that she's getting famous because of this. It's going downhill. I mean, it's like watching a car accident. Like, it's like they're obviously going to find out and it's going to be horrible. I am having a good time reading it. It's just one of those things where every time you think she's done something awful, you get another couple pages and she does something even more awful. So I don't know exactly where it's going to go. But I'll check in with you again once I get a little further in. Okay, so I finished Yellowface, fourth book down this weekend. I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. What a frustrating yet intriguing read. I don't want to get into too many spoilers of what happens. I think earlier everything I said was pretty much on the inside cover, just that her friend dies and she takes her work and passes it on as her own. And pretty much in this whole kind of middle section, we're just waiting for that other shoe to drop. But in a very interesting way. I've never read from this author, and I really, really liked how it's a very satirical book, but she's really exploring like different ideas concerning like privilege and race and appropriation in kind of a funny way, and how like social media and other things in society just kind of spin out of control in this story. I'm really glad I read this. I feel like it was an important read. Now I need to kind of make some decisions just because I still have 5 hours left in this 24-hour reading vlog, and I don't want to start anything that's going to take me too long to read. So I think I need to, not that it matters, I'm kind of making up my own rules here, doing it over the course of 2 days anyway, but still I think I got a little bit of a second wind in me after reading Yellowface, did a little walking around and some stretching, so I really want to dive into something else. I really want to start reading Daisy Hates. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so welcome back. It's just been a few seconds for you, but it's actually the following day for me. I finished Daisy Hates last night and then was just completely exhausted, so went to bed, and this is the following day. I didn't do any check-ins for this because I was just so immersed in this book. I thought I loved the first one. I actually think I might like this one a little better. It's interesting. It takes place, same place in London. It has a lot of all the same characters in it, where we just have a different POV. Daisy and Christian, and also Daisy's brother Julian, we get their POVs in this book, and it was great. I felt so bad for Christian in this book. That was a character that I don't think I cared that much about in the Magnolia Parks book, and I just found this one funnier, and there was more of a, like, because Daisy's brother Julian is like a warlord, or like a gang lord. Oh, I don't even know what he's called. He's like a warlord. And so there's like that kind of added like dangerous element that I really liked. I really like Daisy. She's so funny and she goes through it in this book. And at first I didn't love Julian. I mean, he was fine. His POV was fine. I don't know what we'll be getting from him in the future, but as the book went on, I found him more and more interesting. And like I said, it was just interesting seeing these characters in a different light, because a lot of them were in the Magnolia Parks world, in the Magnolia Parks book, but that was through BJ and Magnolia's eyes or POVs in that book. So you got to actually see like the different dynamics of the friend group through like different people. And I just feel like, I don't know, there's just something about the writing that I just really, really like. Like I said, I couldn't put it down. I like stopped reading maybe twice while I was reading this, and I was trying to go slow too, but I just couldn't put it down. Just like super crazy situations, but very relatable. And I think I said this for Magnolia Parks too. It's like you read this book and it feels like you're watching a soap opera or like an adult soap or like a WB type show or something like that. But it's like super relatable with the characters, and it's just so explanatory of like how they're feeling at each second, even when, you know, they're doing something dumb and they're all kind of crazy and toxic, but in like such a good, like relatable way. And at the end, I was just so sad. I really wanted, obviously this is like Daisy's first book, so I didn't think they'd end up together, but I just kind of loved the ins and outs, and I was hoping they'd end up together in the end, and they didn't. And I hope they're going to be in the next book's the Magnolia Parks book. So we got a little bit of her right at the end, which was kind of a nice like, oh yeah, remember her kind of thing. So we're going to have to wait a little bit to get to the rest of Daisy's story. But it seems like they all, like this book and the first Magnolia Books book kind of took place over the same period of time. So maybe that'll be like the same situation with the next couple books. I don't know. But I'm really excited to keep reading them. I think I technically finished this after my 12 hours that I was trying to stay within, but I'm still counting it. And I read it in one sitting. So that was just like such a crazy experience. And I just love how big these books are too. I don't know what it is. And I thought for some reason it would be a quicker read, but it took me a while, but it was great. Okay, so this has been a crazy weekend. I really liked trying to do this challenge. I feel like I got to read a bunch of great books within just a couple of days. And I definitely think this is something I would try to do again. I really liked my strategy of doing 12 and 12. So I think that worked in my benefit because I had some time to sleep and recoup. And then I was able to read more books that way. And I really liked all the books I read. It feels like forever ago, but the first book I read, The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest, I gave 4 stars. I loved this book. I thought it was a really sweet read. I'm glad it was the first book I read for this challenge because it really made me happy and wanted me to continue reading. I loved the story. I loved the characters. It was just a cute love story between 2 fun characters to read about. And then this, Butcher and Blackbird, was probably one of my favorite books that I read over this last couple days for this challenge. I gave this 5 stars. I'm not gonna say I'm surprised that I gave it 5 stars. I thought I would like it, but I was just surprised how much I liked it. This and probably the Daisy Hates books. I mean, it just flew by. I read them so quickly and I loved every second of it. I loved the weird like dark comedy in this book. And again, it was like a fun love story that was surprising at times, and the subject matter, I think it depends on who you are, but I kind of like the idea of like Dexter type serial killers killing bad guys, but then kind of slowly falling in love through this like competition, and it had a lot of good spice scenes in it as well. And then I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I really liked this book as well. It's very different from what I've been typically reading lately. I used to read fiction all the time, and I kind of just steered more close to, I kind of just go with fantasy and romances lately and an occasional thriller. So this was a nice change of pace. And like I said, I wasn't planning to read it. It just sort of been staring me. It was sort of been staring me down from my bookshelf for the last couple of weeks, so I had been wanting to read it, and I'm glad that I did because it was a very interesting read. It was very frustrating. It was kind of annoying being in this girl's head, but I think it was kind of like a cool way to tell the story, and I really like what the author was trying to say. There was a few things that I didn't love, but I think that's mostly because we were in the POV of like an annoying character, so it was just like kind of hard sometimes to sit with her. But overall, I really liked it. And Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett Sinclair. I almost forgot that I read this weekend. This book was fine. It's not really like that memorable, unlike a few of the other ones I read this weekend. But it was just like a fun, spicy time. I read the Hades and Persephone retelling by Scarlett Sinclair, and I liked that a bit better. But this was technically a novella, and I think there's supposed to be like multiple books in the series that aren't out yet. So I would probably read those. It was an interesting Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's not like super memorable, and I didn't think the writing was exceptional or anything like that. And I gave it a 3 stars, so I guess it was like the lowest rated from this week, but it wasn't like bad to read it. It was actually kind of a good palate cleanser while I was reading some like longer books. And last but not least, I read the Daisy Hates book from the Magnolia Park series. Gave it 5 stars. Loved this book, can't wait to continue on with this series. Loved his character. I think I liked this one a little better than the first one, but I think it's mostly just because we were following a character that I liked a lot more. But I can't wait to continue reading this. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it this far into the video, please leave a little B in the comment section. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. And I will see you in the next video.